and I will share that privilege with you. And I can say that we have had a good one. And I can probably stop here.
Microphone.
But still, there are a few minutes.
Microphone.
Microphone. Okay. So I can just say that we have had a good one and stop here. But there are still a few minutes before the board departs, so we need to fill the pause. That's the microphone.
That's good.
Right.
That's good.
Filling the pause is not that technically key. I think it works. I hear the resonance.
It's good now.
All right. Okay. So, filling the pause, I can say that what really impresses me about this event is the new scholarship, which has manifested itself at this conference. It's not the scholarship of the kind that will eagerly satisfy every political demand. No. It's a scholarship that the politicians would hate and would not be able to ignore. It's not the scholarship that would kind of rush to satisfy any sponsor there is, and there are few and far between. And I, at this moment, will make a footnote and thank our sponsors. And thank in particularly the Swiss Academic Network for marshalling the sponsors so efficiently, and indeed the Kadir Has University for providing a great environment for this scholarship. The university has class and the style cannot fail to impress. But returning back to the scholarship, what really impresses me about the young scholars I have encountered here is how confidently they reject our learned pessimism. They are saying to us, to the veterans, it's too easy to be pessimistic. It may be also too late to be pessimistic. So my first takeaway from this conference is a very simple point, that there is no such thing at all as unresolvable conflict. And it means that before this generation, young generation of scholars will start contemplating retirement, all the conflicts we're discussing at this conference, all the conflicts that Alexei and Alec and Roy and Neil and myself agonized over will be resolved. I don't know how. It's impossible to say. And I'm sure new ones will arise. I'm a professional peacenik, therefore I don't believe in world peace. And the situation will remain unpredictable. But these conflicts, this way or that way, will be resolved. And what somehow underpins this confidence is my second takeaway. That geopolitical Caucasus is over. Remember how many times you have heard about the intersection of energy highways and crossing of geopolitical fault lines of civilizations and all this geopolitical rubbish. The picture is very different. As indeed we were reminded, attention to the Caucasus is diminishing. Europe has to put its own house in order. The United States has to address focus on Asia Pacific, and Russia might have to deal with its own internal problems, and Turkey will have to focus on the Middle East, and there is nothing wrong about it. It's very healthy. It essentially means that the Caucasus will not be a grand chessboard anymore. I always hated that metaphor, which implies there are two players. There were always more players and pawns and no rules to speak of on this chessboard, but it's no longer there. Probably another metaphor that I could offer is gardening. And it will be up to the people working in this garden, inhabiting this garden, to decide what to grow and what to cut, what to cultivate and what to burn. And I have great confidence in their common sense. Partly because, you know, this region is great for growing wines and producing spirits. And unlike us Russians, who after a few drinks become hyperactive, the people of that region after a few drinks tend to start singing. So, and probably my last takeaway about this garden is the most controversial one. It's about history. We've started discussing history, and indeed the Caucasus have tons of history. Incredibly controversial, very fascinating, abused politically in every possible way. And this history tells us nothing at all about how these conflicts will be resolved. In fact, when we start dealing with the conflicts, we need to bracket the history entirely out. And it's a difficult point sometimes, particularly for those who love history. But look at that great city around you. It has incredible history. And it's not over. And it will be making a lot of history. Just look at its growth and dynamic and drive and aggression. And the history that was tells you nothing about the history that will be. So the new history of the Caucasus will be written by the peacemakers. And the scholars which are here will be not studying frozen deadlocks and failed half-hearted initiatives. They will be studying, I hope, spectacular breakthrough and success stories. And we made a start on that. Therefore, we had a good one. Thank you.
Now I understand why both of us are not wearing ties, because we're both professional peaceniks, I guess. So, you know, before I thank a few people, I'd like to say a couple of things. I'm trying to, something to do with Charles King and his presentation about good scholarship and good policy, and something that Fyodor Lukyanov said about the EU, and it's very interesting, about the EU and the Nobel Peace Prize. And, you know, your reaction is Barroso, and I say it's not about Barroso, it's about me as a citizen and everyone else as an EU citizen. And this is the problem that we face ourselves in today, and it's reflected in leadership, absolutely, across the board. And I come from a country where there's a severely lacking. But leadership, institutions that we don't believe in, even though we should, and that's what, again, the Nobel Peace Prize suggests for the European Union's vision. And across the board institutions, and it also has an impact on scholarship, where we, myself and my colleagues here and colleagues elsewhere, always are sort of concerned about the quality of scholarship. We try to do our job, but the quality of scholarship is not what it should be, or it could be. And in a way, you know, this is a very interesting conference in that sense, in that we've had good scholarship and policy here with some of the panel discussions. We've had good scholarship, and we've also had mediocre scholarship, which reflects a little bit where we stand. But what I'm trying to say is that we find, I think, whether we talk about the Black Sea and the South Caucasus and address the issues of security, democracy, and development, or the wider world and the interlinkages, we find ourselves in a crossroads. And what is missing is, and what I think, what this conference has brought out, is the need for something better. And this is where I think the part about the Nobel Prize, and you know, it's interesting. I go back to the EU, and you know, you think about its value as a project, as a peace project, and its power of attraction, which is waning compared to a few years ago, but its potential is there, and it's great. And the fact that, you know, there's a whole debate going on within the EU and outside about the value or not of the Peace Prize, I immediately rejoiced. But I also understand that I'm ashamed that it's a Barroso or even a Van Rompuy or even a Cathy Ashton that will receive the prize for me. It's not about them, and it's about me. It's about us. And I think this is what is missing. We need to rise above and rethink a little bit about what this peace project is about. And it's about our institutions, believing in our government, ownership of the process, which, by the way, the Georgian example is interesting. It does not mean, we'll see whether, you know, what happened in Georgia meets the governance test, but at least in terms of a process, a peaceful transition, acceptance of defeat, and so on, it is enlightening to see that happening in Georgia, in a part of the world which we spend so much time focusing on in terms of scholarship. So it's about that, and I think we need to improve it. We need to improve ourselves and regain a little bit some of that feeling of ownership of what we've been creating and what we are trying to spread in the wider world. Europeans, and this is way beyond the EU. Now, thank you. Now, I'd like to thank, again, obviously the Academic Swiss Caucasus Net for putting your trust in us at Kadir Has University and to host this event. I mean, I remember this started about a year and a half ago with an email Roy Allison and stuff I did to explore the possibility of holding a meeting here. And it's interesting, from that original email and our small meeting here in Istanbul, we ended up having the event here at this university. And I'm delighted with this partnership and this whole enterprise, which has been very important for us too as a university, as a department, as a faculty, in terms of, in many ways. I mean, in terms of scholarship, and I know some of my students are here and follow the conference throughout, and also in terms of our capacity to organize these things. I'd like to thank also Mustafa Aydin for trusting me and trusting it in me to represent the university and to put it all together. And also, in particular, two people. I mean, the many people have been involved. One is, well, from the Academic Swiss Caucasus Net, Denis Daflon, who has been running the show from his office, and then Hande Sebimoglu on this end, who was entrusted in sort of making sure that everything would work. You know, Hande is someone trying to do a PhD, and so it's great that we managed to do this. And as well, also like to thank, I mean, at least at Kadir Has, everybody else has been involved, from our graduate assistants that have sat in the different panel sessions, to some of them, many of them that took notes so that we could contribute to the report, to the technicians, and to the various other visible and invisible Kadir Has staff members that have been working to make sure that this works. And to all of you for coming and enriching us, enriching me at least, and I'm sure we all felt enriched for meeting new friends, for meeting old friends and making new ones, and you know, for making sure that the weather would be good, which is also good. You know, that was my biggest fear. There were two things that happened with this event. One was it didn't happen, almost a minor disaster. We heard that the Prime Minister might come for the official opening of the school year. That was supposed to take place yesterday, and that was about 10 days ago. And you know, we just thought about what this would do to the conference in terms of demands by security and whatever. We had to change rooms and restaurants. Anyway, that didn't happen. So we panicked for 2 days. We resolved it. And then the second thing was, you know, my goodness, we're going to have a boat cruise, a dinner cruise, and let's hope the weather is good. So it seems that we are all set in good weather to continue our interactions in a more informal setting. And again, thank you very much, and let's continue interacting later today on the boat and beyond that. Thank you.